I call this hearing, entitled The Shootdown of the Malaysian Flight 17 and Escalating Crisis in Ukraine, to order. Without objection, all members will have 5 legislative days to submit additional written questions or extraneous material for the record. On July 17th, a civilian airliner flying over Ukraine crashed into a field about 30 miles from the Russian border. All 298 people aboard tragically lost their lives. Today, before we do anything else, let us make it clear that we all extend our sympathy to the families of those victims of that crash. There are 298 families, at least, who are now in deep mourning and suffering, and they have our sympathy and our thoughts and prayers today. Our world today seems overwhelmed with such turmoil. On each continent, there are various groups battling each other who are willing to use force and kill others in order to change the status quo or to protect the status quo. We see this, and we see this today, but we also saw this through the 40 years of Cold War that is within our memory. During that time, people in Hungary, Vietnam, Czechoslovakia, and so many other trouble spots were caught up in local differences and local power struggles that had far-reaching, way beyond their borders, implications. Today, Ukraine and Russia are in transition from what is what and to who knows what's going to happen. But it's a transition, and that transition makes for volatility and undermines the stability. Yes, it undermines stability of the world and threatens world peace. I intend this hearing today to be a balanced hearing, a dialogue, not a diatribe against any point of view. We have assembled a panel of experts on Russia and the region with the goal of learning the facts and getting a better understanding of the truth, hopefully without bellicose rhetoric. Last year, before the upheaval started in Ukraine, Ukraine faced an economic meltdown. Its elected president, Viktor Yanukovych, had a choice between a somewhat long-term yet limited offer by the European Union or a deal with Russia, which offered more money up front and long-term affordable energy. He took the Russian deal, not because he was bullied, as some anti-Russian commentators suggest. No, he took the deal because it prevented an immediate crisis, and he had every right to make that as the elected leader of Ukraine, and it was a defendable decision. But because he was duly elected and not a third world dictator, the Ukrainian people should have used the ballot box to express outrage and remove him from office, if that was the will of the majority of people of Ukraine. Instead, street violence, spontaneous or not, is debatable, led to the elected leader fleeing Ukraine, undermining stability, the stability that we're supposed to see that comes with the democracy and comes with people accepting the electoral process. At the least, it is commendable that in the last 6 months since Yanukovych's removal, the people of Ukraine were given the chance to vote on installing a new president. The ongoing violence in eastern Ukraine, however, can be traced right back to the violence and extra-legal, non-democratic maneuvers of those who brought down that elected president. The ongoing violence is chaotic, and this needs to end. The chaos, the violence, no matter what preceded it, needs to stop now in Ukraine. The MH17 shootdown should be a turning point for all sides. It's time for the guns to stop shooting and some thoughtful reevaluation to commence. This conflict is having serious, not just regional, but global consequences. For one time, over the last few years, we, Russians and Americans, seem to be headed for a new Cold War. Igniting a new Cold War would be a tragedy for not only the people of the United States and Russia, but for the people of the world. We need to identify and implement policies that will bring the United States and Russia together as partners to solve problems and the serious challenges that we have and the threats that are posed to both of our countries. Restoring peace to Ukraine would be a good start in deterring a potential new Cold War and establishing perhaps some stability and peace in the world. So today's hearing hopefully will identify the areas of friction, yes, but maybe shed some light on the events in Ukraine that will help permit us to find solutions instead of fanning the flames of conflict. We have the witnesses who will be introduced just before their testimony, but today we have with us also the ranking member, Mr. Keating.